Okay, today we're going to talk about simulated batting practice pitches and what angle you should be throwing them at. A lot of people will stand up at the halfway point throwing batting practice trying to save the arm, but if we end up getting too high, too tall, then we're recreating a pitch that doesn't look realistic. Let's take a look at the overall of this pitch right here. I'm letting go of it, and it actually is going uphill for a little bit, and then it flattens out, and then it starts to head down. And that's basically the same flight that you would see in a pitch. And the whole thing, if you notice the clock up here in the upper right, at release point we're at 0. This is about a third of the way, 0.133 seconds. It flattens off a little bit, and then it goes out of the screen at 0.35, but it's really 0.400 seconds to where it gets to the hitting area. So that's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And from the height that I'm at right now, which is obviously sitting on the ground, but I'm throwing a pitch that's going to go up a little bit, flatten out, and then start to head down. And eventually when it heads down at about 7 degrees or so, somewhere in that range. So in this area, it's pretty flat, pretty close to being just about level. And in this point, it's actually heading uphill a little bit, about 5 degrees, something along those lines. These aren't exact, but you get the idea. And that's kind of the way every pitch happens. Now, depending on what height I was at the release point, it's going to change dramatically what the pitch flight that this ball takes, and the height of the fastball that this is going to end up being. In this case, it's going to be a low fastball. If this were a higher fastball, then a lot of the pitch along the way would be pretty similar, but somewhere about in here, it's going to go down less and probably be about 3 or 4 degrees downhill if that 95-mile-an-hour fastball is at the top of the zone. So that's one of the things that takes place, one of the weird illusions with a pitch. But all pitches do this. They all have this little tendency to go in segments, and each segment is a little bit different. And each segment changes depending on what angle I let go of it at. If I'm a lot taller, then I'm going to let go of it, and it's probably not going to be that 5 degrees uphill. It's going to be more like downhill, downhill, and then more downhill in order to get to that same place. And some would argue that that's a much better angle to come at. But from that angle, any off-speed pitch is going to have to go up above that, and so they're going to be able to see that easier as a hitter. So that argument, we can go around and around about that, but the bottom line of this piece is to illustrate that you've got to figure out a strategic place to be able to throw your batting practice from if you want to get the angle right. This 7-degree downhill angle is just about the average when you're talking about higher speeds. So that's why in most of the time when I talk about swinging the bat, I want to swing the bat uphill, but not too uphill. I call it flat, but flat means being in line with the pitch. So if the pitch is going down at 7 degrees, I want the bat going up at just about 7 degrees, somewhere in that basic area. But if the pitches were constantly at the top of the zone, I'd want my swing plane to be more like 4 or 5 degrees, because that's where the pitch is going to be coming in at. The bottom line is whatever it's doing in this last little bit, I want to kind of be in that general swing plane as often as I can in order to be able to run into some balls that I might not time perfectly. But the bottom line is this: the pitch is going to leave, it's going to flatten out, and then it's going to start heading downhill. How much downhill depends on where you let go and the velocity and the end location. They're all going to take different flight patterns. But from a batting practice standpoint, you want to try to simulate actual pitch as much as possible. That's why I love these little accelerate balls, because they allow you to be 20 feet away and throw a pitch that's very, very close in exactly the same type of flight that a real pitch at 90 or 95 miles an hour is going to end up looking like.